How's it going, everybody? Once again, I'm Dean for My Progress, and today we're asking the question, does it matter if I'm a remote PhD student, or do I have to be on campus all of the time? Before we jump into that content, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and comment down below whether or not you're a PhD student who likes to be on campus, or do you like to stay at home in your office away from everybody else? So I find this to be a really interesting question. And when we look at it from an objective perspective, it's likely that the majority of PhD students who are deemed to be on-campus students spend roughly an equal amount of time being in the lab versus being at home and working either in front of the TV, in their office in a quiet space, or just take their laptop, go outside and walk into a coffee shop or something of that nature. But the real crux of this question is, can I successfully achieve a PhD by being a remote student? Perhaps I don't even live in the same city or maybe the same country as the institute where I'm undergoing my PhD. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? And will it ultimately work? So if we start off with some of the disadvantages to this process, is that one of the key things that I try to achieve as an academic is to make sure that all of my students, regardless of their level of study, feel that they are entwined within a community. They feel that they always know who they can go to. Perhaps not myself. You know, we might have conflicts of interest if they want to de-stress, if they want to talk about what it's like to be a student. It's important that all of our students have these avenues. Now, I'm happy about the kind of processes that I put in place at my institution to make sure that all of our remote or our online or our on-campus students have those networks of support. But it's very important before you undertake a remote PhD to make sure those networks of support are present. Because if not, you might not feel you need that support now, but there may well and likely will be coming a time when you do need to rely on others to have those conversations. Make sure that support is available. Another disadvantage is, as much as I enjoy working from home and I enjoy the silence and that dedicated time to write, there is potential to generate that networking opportunity, to generate those ideas by just bumping into people in the hallway or sitting down and having a coffee with somebody. Now, obviously, we can have virtual coffees, but we're much less likely to just bump into somebody in an online space than we are on an on-campus space. And so the generation of those ideas and those hallway conversations might be something that you're missing out on as a remote student. Additional disadvantages which we might think of are the access to seminars or research packages or events that happen in an on-campus setting. Now, to bridge parity with students who are online or they're working remotely, it is important that we do try where possible to make all of our on-campus sessions live and applicable to other individuals. At the very least, make sure that they're recorded so our online and remote students can access them at a later date. But that isn't always the case depending on where in the world you are or the institution that you're currently at. So that's a key consideration to make, and these are questions that you should be asking to see whether that research agenda, whether that research body is present within your institution, and how easy it is for you as a remote student to take part in those events. For example, could you present your research online and have other people engage with it as well, just to make sure that you do feel a part of that research community? Depending on your subject area as well, it's vastly important to make sure that your PhD is logistically viable from working remotely. Do you need access to any specialist software that's only available on campus? Do you need access to any specialist hardware or devices that, again, are only available on campus? Are your research methods achievable from working remotely? Are you going to be proverbially shooting yourself in your own foot by making that recruitment process harder for yourself? Remember, the PhD as a journey is already difficult, so you don't want to be making it more difficult for yourself. And finally, be mindful that some of the opportunities that might accidentally or purposefully pass you by might be specific for students who are studying on campus. This might include hourly paid lecturing, associate lecturing, marking, or even the opportunity to manage undergraduate or research assistant. In isolation, these might be very minor things, but when added together, that could be a huge source of income or experience that you might not be able to take advantage of. However, as with any debate, there's also going to be advantages from being a remote PhD student. This includes cutting down on travel time, more time being able to be spent with family or loved ones. You might also be able to keep up with some of those part-time or full-time jobs, presumably one of the reasons that you might be a remote student to begin with. We also see from some of the online teaching that I've done in the past that some of the students who do take part in these online courses are people that are really dedicated but perhaps don't have the time or the space, or they might be individuals who don't really want or find benefit from being a part of that community. And that might be you. You might actually have a much better time from not having to come onto campus, from not being distracted by other people, from not engaging in some of these social activities. And that's perfectly fine. As students and academics, it's important that we find the best ways of working which optimize and maximize the efficiency of our time. The financial element is also vastly important. We spend a lot of money just by going to the coffee shop every day. Whereas if we're working from home or working remotely, we can just go to our kitchen. We don't have to feel that we have to pay for lunch when we're out. Oftentimes as well, there are some universities that charge less for online or remote degrees than they do for on-campus students. And so all of these little pots of money will add up and impact you in a financial way. But at the center of this debate, it's important for you to reach out to individual institutions to make clear what you want to do when undertaking your PhD and to see whether this is a viable way of learning. Whilst lots of institutions will welcome remote PhD students, others will require their students to be on campus. For example, you might have a PI who runs a lab whereby they expect their students to be in every day of the week. But then you might have more relaxed PIs who might only need to see their students in-house when they're doing progress reports or when they're doing annual monitoring. Indeed, we're living in a world now where we've almost been forced to make the most of these online ways of communicating. So why should we give those up if it means a better quality of life for our students and our PhD colleagues? Ultimately, however, you have to do what's best for you in your PhD program. So if you found value from this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel and share it with your friends. And I'm very interested in seeing in the comment section below if there's any of you out there, any of our listeners, any of our viewers who are remote PhD students or who have worked remotely in the past. What are the advantages and disadvantages that you found within your program? And did you think that you were missing out on anything from working remotely? I've been Dean for my progress. I hope you're really enjoying the series and I will catch you in the next video.